Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon Sets video. Today's video is going to be all about Lickilicky, so let's get started by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, abilities, and stats. So to start things off, Lickilicky is a normal type Pokemon introduced in Generation 4 that possesses 3 unique abilities, the first of which being Own Tempo, which is an ability that makes it so that this Pokemon can never be confused. As for its next ability, Oblivious, this ability makes it so that Lickilicky can never be infatuated through the move like Attract or through the Cute Charm ability, as well as also making it so that Lickilicky can never be taunted. And for the final ability, which is its hidden ability known as Cloud 9, this ability makes it so that while Lickilicky is out on the battlefield, all effects of weather are completely cancelled out, and it is as if the weather effects aren't even up on the battlefield at all. As for the stats though, the first thing that we're going to make note of is the fact that Lickilicky is a very bulky Pokemon, with base 110 HP, 95 defense, and 95 special defense, meaning that this Pokemon is very capable of taking hits from both the physical and special side. Additionally, its attacking stats are also pretty nice in both the physical and special side as well, with the attack stat being base 85 and the special attack stat being base 80. And finally, for its last stat, which is its speed, this stat unfortunately is the lowest of all of them, being only base 50, meaning that Lickilicky is not that fast of a Pokemon overall. However, its defenses allow it to kind of offset its low speed significantly, and potentially allow it to take a hit if you would like to run it offensively. But with that, let's take a look at the first set that I have for you in this video. So for this first set, we're going to start off by giving Lickilicky a Careful Nature to increase its special defense and lower its special attack, and then going with the Oblivious ability. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into its HP to max that out, 4 into its attack, and then 252 EVs into its special defense to max that out as well. And for the item, we're going to be going with Leftovers to allow this Pokemon to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. But for the moves, the first one that we're going to go with on the set is going to be Body Slam, which is an excellent normal type attack that this Pokemon is able to fully make use of, and it significantly helps out Lickilicky due to the 30% chance that Body Slam has to paralyze its opponents. And because, as I mentioned before, that Lickilicky is not the fastest Pokemon in the world, this will definitely help it to not only cripple attackers it is up against, but also give it the chance to outpace them and potentially do even more damage before they're able to attack. But along with Body Slam, we have 3 potential options in the second move slot, which all give this set a completely different spin. Now, just to skip ahead for a second, this is a Rest Talk set, so obviously we're going to be making use of the Rest and Sleep Talk combination. But depending on the second move you use, this completely changes the way that this Lickilicky functions. So the first option that I have listed here is Curse, which is an excellent boosting move that increases your physical attack and your defense by 1 stage, while also decreasing your speed by 1 stage. Now, because Lickilicky is slow as is, the speed drop isn't that important, but also because we're using Body Slam on this set to potentially paralyze our opponents, it also doesn't necessarily matter if we do get the paralysis, because there's a chance that Lickilicky will still be faster, even with the speed drop from Curse. But with Curse, this set functions very similarly to the very commonly seen Curse-Lax set that you see in UU on Snorlax all the time, and Lickilicky can do the exact same thing to a somewhat lesser extent because its defenses aren't as good as Snorlax, but they're still very good. And considering Lickilicky is in a much lower tier with less powerful threats, Lickilicky probably will have a much easier time setting up with curses than Snorlax would, where there are tons of things that could threaten it out running around. But if you would like to forego the boosting option, you could go with Knockoff as an excellent secondary option to get rid of your opponent's items, because it is the best move in the game. And if you have Body Slam and Knockoff in combination with one another, you can basically have a very frustrating combination of moves for your opponent to deal with, because they're either going to have to worry about getting paralyzed because of Body Slam or lose their item because of Knockoff. And when you run these two together with Rest Talk on a specially defensive Lickilicky, you'll have plenty of opportunities to keep your health up and continue to harass your opponent with the potential chance for paralysis and them losing their items all the time. But if you would also like to run this yet another way, you could also run Dragon Tail in the second move slot, which will allow you to shuffle your opponents around, giving them very little chance to come in and switch in on Lickilicky to deal with it, because you could Dragon Tail them right out into something else. And also, if you have entry hazards up on the field, this can be very frustrating because your opponent is going to constantly take damage as they get switched in and around with Dragon Tail, while also, again, potentially having the chance to be paralyzed because of Body Slam. So you kind of get a little bit of paralysis shuffling going on with this variation on it. So even though this set is very simple with just running Body Slam and Rest Talk, the second move option, whether it be Curse, Knockoff, or Dragon Tail, gives this set a ton of variety and allows Lickilicky to do a number of different things on a very simple and easy to use set for it. And as for this next and final set, I wanted to touch base a little bit more on some of the offensive options that Lickilicky has in battle. So we're going to start this one off by giving it an Adamant Nature to increase its physical attack but lower its special attack, and for the ability go with Oblivious. As for the EVs, we're going to put 128 into its HP to give it a little bit more added bulk, 252 EVs into its physical attack to max that out, and then 128 EVs into its speed to give Lickilicky enough speed to outpace base 65 speed Pokemon, giving it more of an offensive presence as opposed to just focusing on HP and attack like a lot of tanky attackers typically do. And for the item, we're going to be running either Leftovers to increase its HP at the end of every turn, or a Lumberry to make it so that Lickilicky is able to remove any status it might be afflicted with that could potentially cripple its opportunities to deal a lot of damage to your opponent. For the moves on this set, the first one we're going to be running is Swords Dance to increase your physical attack by 2 stages, and then running 3 attacking moves that we're going to be potentially using with our boosted attack. The first of which being Body Slam to again be your main normal type stab attack on this set, which also has that really nice 30% chance to paralyze your opponent. Now even with the speed investment that we are running, which is still very useful, the paralysis from Body Slam is going to help out a lot because there are still quite a few things that are going to be outpacing Lickilicky regardless of the speed investment. But to go along with that, Earthquake is the next option for attacking, as this will allow you to cover the rock and steel types that Lickilicky will not be able to hit very effectively with Body Slam, and also allow you to just have really solid coverage overall, because the only things that resist the normal type ground type combination of attacks are rock or steel flying types or ghost types that are levitating, whether it be through an added flying typing or the levitate ability. So to go along with these two moves and kind of help you out in those departments a little bit with a couple of things that do resist or are immune to the attacks that we have already, we're going to be running either Knockoff, Aqua Tail, or Zen Headbutt in the third move slot. Knockoff, obviously, because it's just an excellent option to go with regardless and allows you specifically to deal with those ghost types that can be very frustrating. Aqua Tail as a way to allow you to hit the flying rock types, namely Archeops, for some really solid damage, and also giving you the opportunity to one-hit KO Mega Camerupt without the Swords Dance boost, which is something to keep in mind because Earthquake actually does not do this. Aqua Tail does though, and that can be very useful if you don't have the opportunity to set up Swords Dance, but do want to just take out an opponent right away if they do have their Mega Camerupt out, because that thing is very common in NU right now. But Zen Headbutt could also be used in this last moveset to allow Lickilicky a little bit of an easier time dealing with Weezing, because Weezing is a very bulky defensive Pokemon that can take your Body Slams even when boosted and potentially burn you with a Will-O-Wisp. But with Zen Headbutt, after you have set up Swords Dance, you can actually 2-hit KO a max defense Weezing and dodge the Will-O-Wisp with the Lumberry if you do use that as your item, thus allowing you to take out one of the most useful physical walls in the NU tier. But overall, as you can see, with the Swords Dance boost and the attacks that I've listed here, Lickilicky can be, in fact, a very powerful offensive Pokemon from the physical side, and potentially deal a lot of damage to anything on your opponent's side of the field. But anyways, everybody, that is it for this video, so I wanted to thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed both of these Lickilicky sets, and as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.